Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another Team Memes Not Meta video. And of course, as everyone knows, the January 2022 ban list has dropped. And oh boy, it is something. And we're going to break it down here. This is something we hope to do with all of the ban lists now on the channel. We did this about 2 years ago, and we haven't really touched it since. But we kind of like these discussion videos to, as a team and as a community, now that we're a little bit more established, give our thoughts on the effects this has on both us, on the meta, and on playing memes. So I'm joined here today with three other team members. We have team member Bryan, Aidan, and Andrew E. Guys, thanks so much for joining us today.
Pleasure to be
Always
here.
happy to be here.
Of course.
Absolutely. So, I mean, hey, let's just get right into ban list because, guys, this was a ban list, to say the least. This was something. And right off the bat, we had 4 forbidden cards. And some of these, I honestly, all of these, I don't really think anyone was too upset about. One I want to focus in on first, and I'm going to ask Bryan about this. How about Imperial Order, right? Because this was a card that a lot of meta players wanted banned because they thought it was almost like an instant win card. Do you agree with this banning?
I actually do a lot. This card is incredibly overpowered. It was errata actually at one point to give it the not optional 700 life points, and it just was not enough. This card is sometimes an instant win when you can do all of your spells, all of your plays, and then immediately when your opponent's turn hits, just flip this card over and they locks them out of every spell card.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to agree. It was fun to flip the one of and basically win games against people who didn't have a way to out it. And I think the biggest thing here, Aidan, is with Imperial Order, right? The most ways to out spells and traps are spells, and that was the biggest problem.
Yeah, exactly. It just it kind of defeats the purpose of, running spell and trap removal at that point, because you really can't do anything. The only thing that you can rely on is if you happen to have a monster popping effect, which not every deck has the luxury of having. So that kind of does stop a wide variety of decks.
Without question. So
right,
the card, yeah, I mean, it's been errated, as Bryan said, rightfully so. I don't think there's anything else to say about Imperial Order. I want to move on to Bird of Sovereignty now. Now, Andrew E., I can faithfully say that you also are not a fan of going first, summoning Bearer Statue of the Stormwinds, and I got to ask you, I'm pretty sure you're kind of happy with this banning as well, or am I mistaken?
Well, it's not so much that I'm particularly happy. It's really funny because literally the day of the ban list, the morning before it came out, I was thinking to myself, I went through my bulk and I found I had some more, and I also had Barrier Statue. So I was thinking I could play this. And the thought occurred to me that I really could. And then a couple hours later, then Bird is dead. So personally, for me, it's funny that it happened the day I thought about playing it. But as a player, I'm very happy to see that this is being hit. I mean, I would have liked if Barrier Statue itself got hit, but this is something. Because if you can summon any 3 monsters like Reaperdocus, go into Bird of Sovereignty, and then put out Barrier Statue of Stormwinds, that's kind of crazy. And it's not like every deck was playing it, but I know Dinos could do it, and Tri-Brigade, and so could Flunderees, but normally they'll just normal summon their statue from hand and then kind of go off with that. But seeing Bird get hit, it's a welcome addition to the ban list, I'd say.
Yeah, it's a welcome change, especially because if you didn't draw literally the Wind Kaiju Godarla, you basically just lost the duel. I don't really think that was fun for anyone. Like Andrew E. said, Dinos absolutely abused this card with Reaperdocus, and back when they were in full power before July of last year, it was stupid. It was absolutely stupid. So I think a welcome change. Bryan or Aidan, any opposition to Bird of Sovereignty being banned? I mean,
I think we can all agree, as they say, 2 birds with 1 stone.
Yes, you know what? I think you put it perfectly. Absolutely. The other 2 here, really meta-centric focus cards, Eva and Protoss. Don't really want to touch a whole lot on these, but I think we all know why they were banned. Is that safe to say, guys?
Mm-hmm.
Right, I agree.
Yeah, both very good cards, needed to be banned, so no opposition there. Let's move on to the limited cards. There was a lot here. There were some really interesting ones. We got some cards back that have been gone for a while. And then we had some of the absolute most head-ass moves I've ever seen by Konami. But you know what? We'll get into them. We'll talk about them last. Let's start with the return of Destrudo. Andrew E., I know, is very happy about the return of this card. So are a lot of other people. And I guess the consensus is that Kriston Needle Fiber isn't used as much now, so it's okay to unban this? What do we think on this, Andrew?
So my thoughts on Destrudo, it took me so long to really think about what I could do with it. But once I discovered you could, what's that one where it's like a normal summon, send a dark monster from deck to grave? It's like a Midnight Soldier, Twilight Soldier, whatever his name is.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like you can normal summon him, send Destrudo, summon Destrudo back, and then a free Dawn Dragster at the cost of 4,000, sure. But I'm really happy with Destrudo coming back because something I think a lot of decks struggle with is to get some kind of board significance. Like if you're going first and you're playing some kind of road deck or a deck that really struggles to keep up with the meta, if you can have a level 4 or something and get Destrudo in grave, whether it be a foolish or if you summon anything that sends a monster from deck to grave, then you can turn 1 go into a Dawn Dragster just for a little bit of support and protection on your own behalf, because a lot of decks don't have their own kind of archetypal negate, and it's really hard to play around bigger decks. So personally, I think for any kind of rogue deck, this is a great addition back. I was sad to see it get banned. I'm happy to see it come back. Also, it's being watching its price just shoot up
Yeah.
Banlist. So if I may, I bought a copy because I forgot where mine were. As soon as I saw the ban list for $1, it is now at $9, and it's probably going to still keep going up for a little while. But overall, I'm very happy to see Destrudo coming back. Hopefully it won't get abused. I know that's asking a lot for a card this good, but at least 1 or 2 formats with it back, I'll be happy with.
Yeah, I mean, Destrudo, very powerful indeed. It's going to be interesting to see what people do with it now. Let's move on to the one to its right. Aidan, I want to ask you about Fairy Tale Snow, a card that was at 3, then at 1, then banned for, I want to say, 2 to 3 years now. And all of a sudden, hey, this is a pretty good card that's back and could be splashed in a lot of decks.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember back in the day when this was banned, mainly because Grand Maju was becoming a lot more prevalent in the time frame back in that 2018, 2019.
2018, also Thunder Dragons abused it.
Right, yeah. Mm-hmm. That was definitely the main reason why this card was banned. But I think kind of going alongside with now Pot of Desires being banned, Thunder Dragons being hit already on the ban list, it kind of warrants this card coming off the ban list, I think. But yeah, it's definitely very good, very splashable, and I mean, it could be definitely a lot of fodder for link material or really anything. I think there's a lot of possibility that could be explored with this card now.
Aidan, are Lightsworns back? Yes or no?
Are Lightsworns back? That's hard to tell. I think you'd be a better person to answer this question.
I don't think they're back, but it is funny because Snow was used by them and is a very good card in that deck. So hey, they got something. They got something. Just want to briefly touch on 3 here that I know we don't have as much to say about. That's Lunalight Tiger, Recital Starling, and Astrograph Sorcerer. Sorcerer's fine. I understand what they're doing. They're trying to gradually move towards getting all those OP Pendulum cards off the ban list. Lunalight Tiger, hey, Lunalights are back, very cool. And Recital Starling, yeah, it needed to be limited. It was being abused in the Tri-Brigade Lurlisk deck, which is fine. No opposition there. So let's go on to the big 2. Bryan, let's talk about Monster Gate, because you and I aren't very big fans of this limit, and I think you also know why this card was limited, unfortunately.
Yeah, Monster Gate was most likely limited to stop the OTK, or the FTK, excuse me, with the Machina Gustav Max deck. That is probably the main reason why it was hit. It is a strong card, very strong. I know I use it in Infernoids. Luckily, I actually already only play this at 1 because I play a lot of hand traps in mine that I do kind of want to not hit as much, so Monster Gate had less value in the deck. But it's sad to see it go because I was really hoping that I could see maybe Reasoning come off and start abusing Monster Gate and Reasoning, and unfortunately got hit.
Yeah, it makes sense, I guess, although that FTK wasn't the most consistent thing. I played around with it. I was thinking about building it. Obviously, there's no point of doing that now, but I don't really see another reason for limiting this card outside of the Machina Ruin Force FTK. And I think it just comes down to Konami really, really does not like FTKs, and they will do whatever it is to destroy any potential ones that exist. So it's fine. It's whatever, you know. I don't think that's the end of the world, but something that I would argue might be the end of the world for a lot of budget players is the decision to limit Pot of Desires. In what world, Aiden, did Pot of Desires need to be limited?
I don't know. It's hard to tell. It's it definitely hurts because Pot of Desires the past, again, since 2018, 2017 even, I think.
17, yeah.
2017, it's just been such a great splashable card you can use in any deck. I mean, the ability to draw 2, yes, the cost is high at banishing 10 cards, but the fact that it's been so cheap, it's such a great draw support. It works in a ton of decks, especially a ton of rogue strategies. That's kind of a heart and soul to that kind of deck. It definitely hurts that it's gone. And you don't really know. I mean, this could be just a move by Konami to wanting them to push more product out. Like now more rogue players and more, you know, lower end meta players or even meta players, they're going to have to shift to start using Product Prosperity, Product Extravagance, which are, I think Product Extravagances are at what, like $10 now a piece?
Yeah,
I mean,
$10.
I mean, Pot of Desires was what, at like probably like $3 maybe even.
Pot of
maybe.
Desires is like 90 cents from the structured.
Yeah, that's like the lowest rarity even. And but yeah, it just kind of sucks. It sucks to see.
It hurts. It really hurts. We talked about Gramaju earlier. Forget playing Gramaju. You can't even do it. I mean, this was the heart and soul of that deck. Andrew E., let me ask you. Aiden kind of touched on this. Kind of want your opinion here. Did they limit Pot of Desires to make you have to buy Extravagance and Prosperity?
That's really interesting as a point to make, because that proves that Konami's like really watching how we're playing and thinking how can they make a profit off of it, which, I mean, to be fair, they did create the game, but if their reason was watching how players used an old card just so they could hit that, so they have to get a new one, I love this game, but that's really kind of a dude come on kind of moment.
Yeah,
because not everyone has like the budget or like the pocket cash to like go buy a Prosperity, go buy Extravagance, or like buy the packs and hope, just pray that they get it. So I really hope that it just came down to, you know, some decks are using a little too much or is a little too good for some people, and I hope that it wasn't just a marketing ploy, because that would really suck. However,
honestly,
I will say one quick thing. With Desires being on the list, there is actually one good side about it, though. The age-old debate, the age-old war of Desires being a good or a bad card, we finally know for a fact this is a good card because they put it on the ban list to an extent.
That's such a good point. No one can ever argue that this is a bad card anymore because it has been limited. That's a great.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got them.
You can also never Desires into Desires anymore. So
that's true. You can't Desires into 2 Desires anymore. Very unfortunate. I know we all loved doing that. So yeah, that's a great point. This one's puzzling. The consensus is it's because of Sword Soul, but like, really, this is the Sword Soul hit you chose out of all the cards?
But they already hit Archfiend or Fiend, Protelos, whatever its face is.
Yeah.
In Sword Soul, which we didn't say much, but I'm happy that one is gone.
Yeah. You know what? This gives me vibes of when they limited Called, when they limited Terraforming, when they eliminated, you know, Metaverse, where they hit all of the budget cards that help other strategies instead of hitting the problem meta cards. So, you know, it's whatever. We've said enough. Pot of Desires being limited is a stupid ass decision, but we're going to live with it and we're going to keep playing the game. Semi-limited. Not a whole lot to talk about here. Pretty cool options. Bryan, let me ask you about Fusion Destiny, because a lot of people saw this and kind of went, whatever. Do you agree?
Yeah, this is honestly, this card, if you want to get rid of Fusion Destiny, either have to ban it or even at 1, it would still be very good, because the only thing that putting it to 2 is doing is stopping people from seeing it more often in their starting hand. Who cares? It really, you can get Predaplant, whatever its name is, can't remember at the moment, so easily. Verte, that's its name. You can get Verte out so easily in Diffusion Destiny. It really does not matter. You'd have to ban this thing if you really want to see it not be played anymore.
Yeah, it's kind of like a whatever hit. Hero Lives. Andrew, I know you were pretty excited about this one, maybe a little scared as well.
I would say scared is a pretty good one. This is again like going along to Morg. Like I'm looking at it, and I'm as a like casual hero player, I really like seeing Hero Lives being bumped up to 2 because it just helps the deck get started faster. But that's also why I'm scared, because this helps heroes get off the ground faster. So now we're going from like 3 copies of Stratos with 1 Hero Lives, so 4 Stratos. We're going up to now 5 Stratos for every deck. So like opening hand, you have another option to pull a Hero Lives, Stratos, and you can almost go full combo off him alone if you have like 1 other hero. So I like seeing that it got like semi-limited, but I'm fearing for our next like round of tournaments with hero players because seeing this Verta too.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. Nadir Servant also semi-limited. Not a lot of surprise there. Pretty good card in Dogmatica.
Yeah.
Salomon Great Circle to 2. Very cool. Very interesting. Solid players rejoicing. And then Scapegoat here. I'm going to ask you about this, Aidan, because this is an interesting card. It got limited in the beginning of the Link format when people would abuse it to get a free Link 4, essentially. Set it, flip it on your opponent's turn, summon the monsters in their end phase. Everyone remembers that. I don't know about you, Aidan, but I would make the argument that this card is probably a little too slow for current day Yu-Gi-Oh! And could be put at 3 without any problems.
Yeah, I might have to agree with you there on that one. It might be hard to say. We haven't had to think about this card for quite a while. I guess that's the right way of thinking about it, since but the pace of the meta is obviously a lot faster compared to how it used to be back in the early Link format. And honestly, you're right. I think you are right in that having Scapegoat at 3 might not be as big of a problem as we think it would be. But I guess this is probably just the first step, and maybe next list that might fully come off the ban list.
I think so as well. I believe so. And that'll wrap up the semi-limited list. Let's go to no longer on the list. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, guys. We're going to play in a format where skill drain is at 3. They banned Imperial Order, but they brought skill drain to 3. And, oh man, I don't even know where to begin with this. Bryan, when you saw skill drain to 3, what's the first thought in your mind?
Well, I had 2 thoughts immediately. First thought was, of course, trains. Trains can finally run amok, as you probably know. Put down 3,000 beat stick. It doesn't even have to be train deck anymore. Just put down a bunch of 3,000 beat sticks that can normal summon themselves, but then have their attack or whatever. And now, guess what? They no longer have their attack. They got 3,000 attack for free. For 1,000 life points. And the other thought I had was the new weather painters that are actually coming out with the Grand Creator release that came out Friday. Weather painters all activate their effects by banishing as cost, so they all still get their effects unaffected basically by skill drain.
Yeah, that's a really good point, and that deck has that insane field spell as well.
Yes.
I think it's safe to say that could very well be a rogue deck this format, maybe better.
I agree. Having their Link boss monster being able to put 3 monster negates on the field is kind of insane, along with any other spells and traps they may or may not have.
Yeah, absolutely insane. We're going to talk about skill drain a little more. I want to come back to Aidan in our last slide when we talk about decks that are affected by this, because I know there's a certain one he's pretty happy about right now. But how about we move on to Raigeki to 3? Andrew or Aidan, let me get your thoughts on this, because I remember when I first started playing Yu-Gi-Oh! You guys introduced me to it, and I remember being told that, back then Raigeki was like a $15 card. It was like a one-of in everyone's side deck, and it was powerful, and, all of a sudden it got reprinted a ton. Nobody played it anymore, and now it's at 3. I mean, thoughts on Raigeki at 3? Aidan, why don't we start with you?
Honestly, not really that big of a deal. We have cards like Lightning Storm out there. I think it kind of, you know.
Yeah.
And we have Harpy's Feather Dust Circle one, so it's like if Lightning Storm can effectively do both, I mean it makes sense. Rageki's coming off the list.
For sure. Andrew, thoughts on Regeki?
Again, let's go back to what you said some years ago, like introducing you to Raigeki. Yeah, like at the time, this card was like, oh boy, okay, destroy all monsters on the opponent's side of the field. A one-sided dark hole. That was a lot for especially like new players like us way back when. But now seeing it at 3, so many decks have, or I should say, not every deck has a board wipe, but like a lot of decks can kind of like work with this or kind of work around it. Personally, I think it's a pretty cool, like no longer on the list kind of addition. And like, I hope there's like some new player, someone who just started and like their heart is now like, I can play through Raigekis, like someone who bought 3 of the Spirit Charmer structure deck. Now they're like, I guess, or something like that. But I'm happy if someone's happy about it. Let me put it that way.
That's a great point. I mean, just a fun card overall, and like Aidan said, Lightning Storm, it's at 3. This is a worse Lightning Storm essentially, so why not just bring it to 3? Going over some of the other ones here. Emergency Teleport, yeah, makes sense. Red Eyes, Darkness Metal Dragon, hey, it got errata, it's irrelevant now. Nessie to 3, cool, very cool, bringing back some of the dangers. And then just quickly, why don't we touch on Joker? Andrew again, this makes you pretty happy, I think.
This card is why I stopped playing my favorite deck at the time. So when we were new to Yu-Gi-Oh, I played Perform Pal Pendulum, not knowing that it was like a top tier deck. I just liked the art. And then Skullcrabat, the same list where Monster Reborn came back to 1, Joker went from 3 to 0, like just like a snap. And I thought to myself, like, what am I gonna do? And I love that in the past few I think every ban list for the past 3, including this one, like they brought Joker back 1 more at a time.
Yeah.
That's really funny. And I said it to you guys, not on the channel, like offhand, like months ago, like maybe I'll like rebuild my Perform Pal deck. But now that it's at 3, like I feel like there's something telling me like stop pushing it off, just get back to it. So hopefully on the channel you'll see a Perform Pal deck sometime soon, because I do like them a lot. I just am very rusty with pendulums. Oh boy.
Hey, there you go. Look for it soon. A Performer Pal deck profile courtesy of Andrew E with Joker at 3. So that'll wrap up the ban list. And we just wanted to quickly touch on some of the decks we've built, not necessarily these ones. These are just some pretty art to look at while we talk. But a lot of you have been commenting and saying, hey, these profiles were over a year ago. What do you do with the current ban list now? So, we're not going to be able to go back and remake deck profiles when 1 or 2 cards change. But just off the top of your head to wrap up this video, guys, I want to go around and I want to hear one deck that's going to change from this ban list for better or for worse. Bryan, why don't we start with you and Infernoids? What are we thinking after the January ban list?
Well, first, let me just point out, Nessie's also off the ban list. We didn't say anything about that, but we can't forget Nessie. Dangers are very nice.
Yes, Nessie at 3. I did mention that, but Dangers are very good.
I thought we forgot it. My mistake then.
No, all good.
Getting back to the topic at hand, honestly, according to the ban list that I am using the profile that I'm currently using, the ban list doesn't actually affect this deck at all. I already had Monster Gate at 1. I did have it at 3 at one point, but I decided to change it out in favor of having the Arimas in there to try and get more searches for Lair of Darkness ever since Terraforming was hit. So honestly, doesn't hit much.
I mean, that's what we like to hear. That profile stands, so you can go ahead and check that out if you want. We'll link it in the video here in a card. Aidan, why don't we go to you, because someone specifically asked, hey, there's a certain card at 3 now. How do you change up Phantasm Spiral?
Yeah, of course. So obviously Skill Drain coming at 3 definitely changes the way that we can look at Phantasm Spiral. I know one card that we had in there is kind of like a substitute was Lose 1 Turn. We used to have that in the deck profile, thinking like, okay, well, Skill Drain's only 1, so this is kind of like a decent replacement. You could probably take that out now in favor of the Skill Drains, or you can rearrange your different types of floodgates, things like Goes and Match, maybe even there can be only 1. You might be able to cut back on some of those extra monster negation cards in favor of opting to play Skill Drain instead, and then pairing new Floodgates to fit around with the current meta. I think that would be my suggestion.
Yes, for sure. Three skill drain, helping that deck out. Hey, they're trying to give you something after they took away all the field spell search and also Card of Demise, aren't they?
Yeah, of course. I mean, anything really helps with this deck, but yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. Now, Andrew, I put Muskets here. I know that the loss of Pot of Desires hurts Muskets as a whole, but is there a different deck you want to talk about that has either helped or hurt it, or do you want to talk about Muskets?
Well, I'll say something quick for Muskets and something else. So losing Desires, dropping Desires to 1, yeah, it's a little irritating because we can like always be super consistent with like summon Casper Desires. Okay, what are you gonna negate, or like what are you gonna hit? I can't hit anything. I'm gonna miss like drawing 2 and also getting my search off.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a shame. Desires, I've never played a ton, like really only in Muskets. So yeah, it's something. I guess I'm upset about that. But overall, I count this balance as a net win for my decks because like with zombies or anything that can play like Needle Fiber or something, I'm so happy to just have Destrudo back. Like if I can send one thing like I said before, send it, summon something, and then Dawn Dragster. So I will happily lose like a Desires for an easier way to get Dawn Dragster in my other decks.
Yeah, I think you put that perfectly. That's the position I'm at with this ban list, because I put Cubics here, and Cubics is really hurt from this ban list. Monster Gate at 3 really helped this deck mill, get what they needed in the graveyard, and also activate Unification, as I showed off in some of those combos on our video. We'll link that as well. So yeah, Monster Gate to 1 really hurts. We're gonna have to rework that. I'm gonna have to find out 2 other cards that kind of help this deck, and you can't even do the draw support from Desires because that's also at 1. But moving to Trains, like Brian said, Skill Drain to 3 makes Trains a serious threat to be meta relevant. And I'm not saying that just because I like the deck. You literally can flip Skill Drain, normal summon a Night Express Knight, special summon a Super Express Bullet Train, and that's 2 cards that each have 3,000 attack that you got out for free and have no restrictions on attacking them. It's just absolutely insane. Just Trains beatdown. You don't even have to go into any of the really, huge combos. And the other thing to couple with that is Mystic Mind not being hit. I may talk about this in my train profile, but bumping Mystic Mind up to 3 to go with the 3 skill drain, because going second, you can plop that down. You can do whatever you want with your train. So very interesting to see. We're gonna have to see how this plays out. It's gonna be interesting meta for sure. And thank you all so much for sticking it out for this video here, our in-depth January 2022 ban list discussion. We hope you enjoyed it. Like we said, we're trying to get one of these up for all of the ban lists as they come, because it's a lot of fun, and we enjoy breaking it down and what it means for not only the meta but also the memes. And with that said, that'll conclude this video. Aidan, Andrew, and Brian, thanks for joining us. Of course, it's been an honor.
Oh, we're happy to be here, and remember, check out our Discord in the description below.
Yes, that's actually a good point. Forgot to mention in the beginning, join our Discord. The link to join is in the description below. It's a great time. Go ahead and join.